Wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. You're listening to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton 87.8 FM. My name is Yusuf Shafi and you are in conversation with Yusuf Shafi. Today we've got a special program for you all about education and education matters. Alhamdulillah, I've got in the studio with me Ahmed Hussain, who is head teacher of please remind me the
Eden
school.
Boys
Eden-
Leadership Academy
Eden
in
Boys
Birmingham.
Leadership Academy in Birmingham. Assalamu alaikum, brother Ahmed.
Wa
How are
alaikum
you,
salam.
sir? Are you
Wa
well?
alaikum salam. I'm well in this blessed month of Ramadan.
MashaAllah.
Really nice to be here.
And how is your Ramadan going? How are you finding the fast?
When you're busy, it's easier.
Okay.
It goes easy, but alhamdulillah, nothing much really. It's fine, it's good. It's good. You can, focus spiritually, and the other good thing about it is that, especially for us teachers, it sort of coincides with the Easter break,
Of course.
which means that we can benefit from Ramadan a bit more better than normal. So, so that's it really. Obviously, next week is the final week of Ramadan,
Inshallah.
so we'll come to a conclusion.
MashaAllah. Can I ask you, brother Ahmed, please put the microphone closer to you.
Yeah.
Move it right up so that we can hear you nice. I'm sure you've got some wonderful things to inspire us with today. And so it
Thank
would be a
you.
shame if you were a bit muted for any reason. So, listeners, we will be talking to Brother Ahmed, who is a head teacher and has got a wealth of experience over many, many years around the world of education and around secondary education in particular. We're going to hopefully use this as an opportunity to get some advice and guidance from him, to be able to impart some of his years of experience and be able to inform us about the key events and the key changes and how the curriculum is developed. But we're also going to touch on some community issues around how, for example, our youth, our Muslim youth in particular, but youth in general, can best be guided and supported through the education system as we have it in the UK today. Before we go into all of that, though, what I will want to do is allow Brother Ahmed to introduce himself. So, you're a local lad,
Yes.
Wolverhampton born and bred.
Born and brought up here,
MashaAllah.
Wolverhampton, Hart,
Tell us,
with Marines.
tell us about a little bit about your journey. How did you work your way through the education system yourself? What did you go on to do? Why did you go into teaching? And then through the teaching career to eventually become a head teacher.
Yeah. So, in my family, my father came in the 60s, along with, other people in the family, settled here in Wolverhampton. My elder brother and sister were born in Pakistan, in Azad Kashmir. I was born here, Wolverhampton, New Cross. And I remember that we were the first students in Dunster Hill Primary School when it was first opened in the 70s, that was. And since then, really been educated at Dunster Hill, Pendiford High School, went to Wolfram College, and then Alhamdulillah took off from there really in terms of my sort of career pathway, which was education from the beginning, up to now. But there were certain things that helped me and shaped, the course of my direction, as it were. First of all, my father, although he was uneducated himself, he took a big interest, in our education, all of our education. And although he couldn't read the reports himself, we were very fortunate that one of our neighbors, very close friend of ours, was a barrister. He used to help us and he used to, teach us as well. But he was another influencer actually on my life. So basically, that importance of education, which came from the parents, was quite a big influencer. Kids, they want to try to do things to please the parents. And so I remember actually that, a lot of my time in primary school was wasted often because of me, really, not blaming anyone else on that. But I do remember that the key moment for me in primary school was in year 6. And I remember my teacher as well at the time. She, took an interest in my education, and I took education seriously in year 6 to such an extent that I was fortunate to secure sort of the top class when we went to Pendiford High. So I did that much well in the examination. And then there was the other thing. The other big influencer for me was my elder brother. You know, if you've got a role model in the family who's taking education seriously, that helps a lot. You know, you kind of aspire to be like him. And so, you know, I had that influence. And at Pendiford, with the top class, there were a group of colleagues, friends. I built some friends of different faiths, you know.
You were clearly a bright student and you did well and you
Alhamdulillah.
achieved. And what was the degree you went on to?
Chemistry degree.
Degree in chemistry, right? Okay.
And with the chemistry, I tell you, it was a subject I wasn't really doing well in at school. And there was a teacher who came in year 11, and he helped me a lot. But my transformation in chemistry occurred actually during the Easter break. So it's never too late. I know that there are youngsters now revising. Easter can make a big.
You can make a difference. Even
Easter can make a big difference.
Last few
yeah,
weeks
and
of,
it did for me to
revision.
such an extent that this subject I pursued to A level and to degree as well.
MashaAllah. So then, after your degree, you went off towards teacher training college.
Well, I had a choice actually of whether I wanted to pursue chemistry at depth, you know, sort of analytical chemistry, or whether the choice of teaching came to me. And again, I was fortunate with the colleagues that I have, you know, who are around me, and you know, speaking to them and getting advice. Because, you know, with me, I like to get as much advice and learn from others as possible. And I think that's an important thing to have. And so I was kind of pushed in this direction, work with people. And I never really regretted it since. So, yeah, I went to Leicester University, where I did the teacher training in science, chemistry, and then I started initially in independent schools, and then later on did some experience in state schools as well.
Okay. And how have you found your career trajectory? I mean, in a sense, you would have started as a teacher and worked your way up to head of department and an assistant head, deputy head and head teacher. Was that a stressful time, or was it an enjoyable time? Did you find actually that progression was a learning curve, but an enjoyable learning curve?
I mean, I've always found myself to be a hard worker, you know, and a smart worker as well, but, you know, a hard worker. That was from the beginning. And because I worked in an independent school, within a couple of years I was promoted. So within 3 years, I was deputy head of this school.
Okay, very good.
And the school went on, it was a sort of Islamic faith school, went on to become one of the first voluntary aided schools in Birmingham. So I left that school, but then I came back as well. I went into some state schools as well. Eventually,
let's because you've just touched on a few things which I'm sure our listeners out there would be interested in, and from their own point of view and from their own perspectives, want to really work on. It's often quite difficult for young people to be able to choose, primarily because of the fact that they don't have the insight, they don't have the sort of experience or the understanding of what's happening in the jobs market, where is the world of the employment sector and all the rest. How do you think is the best way for a parent in Wolverhampton, in the UK, with our current system as it is and the jobs market as it is, to best guide and support the young people? Because you've just talked us through your journey.
Yeah.
And it was clearly a successful journey and clearly a very interesting journey as well, no doubt. But how do you, for example, guide your students at school, or how would you advise for a parent to support their children with options? What is it I should take at my GCSEs when I have options? What is it I should take at my A-levels when I have options? And I'm sure you're going to give us the short and simple answer, which is do what you enjoy, which is always good advice.
I'm going to say that.
But I think there is an argument to say, well, sometimes the things we enjoy aren't going to be viable from the point of view of getting us a good job. So what advice would you give?
I mean, first of all, I am a parent. I have 3 children. I have 2 boys. I have a daughter. And there is a difference in terms of, you know, I've reflected on my upbringing, and you can say, you know, it's successful. However, I would want even better for my children, for them to go to better schools, for them to be given resources that maybe I didn't have, you know. And I think with children, options if you're thinking when they're 12, 13, 14, it is really too late. You have to start your involvement in your children's education way, way early. And I would argue, because with my daughter, I started when she was 9 months.
Okay.
9 months. And I'll tell you something that I used to use. There's obviously, you see kids of that age, they say that they learn through play. But there's also, I used to use flashcards, Arabic flashcards, Alif, Ba, and Jim. And, and she didn't used to speak at that time. But after about a year, those were amongst the first letters that she could say. And
sure.
by the age of 2, so what I'm saying is that you start early.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing why the early education is important is because you'll get to know, no two children in the same family are the same. They're going to be different. They're going to have different interests, different talents, different abilities. So you obviously provide them with that broad base, but you try to provide them opportunities that would allow them to naturally progress according to, their kind of potential, where it's looking. And that decision and options will become much easier, right? Because you'll know your son or your daughter.
And where their talents lie.
Where their talents lie and what the opportunities are there around.
Mm-hmm.
It's still their choice, but you're there to guide them. I think,
If I can just pick you on pick from that point. Generally speaking, Asian parents, Muslim parents, will want to impress on their children to take science, to take maths, with a view to get them into the medical sciences, whether it be medicine or dentistry. If they think they're not that way inclined, then they'll want to push them into accountancy or law, again with a view so that they become accountants and solicitors. How much do you think that is a valid option?
It's still
in this
there.
Day and age?
It's not as much as it used to be, But I will say that in my school, which is a boys' school, I find that if you look at the entry profile, the kids are 90%, they're better in maths than they are in English. 90% of the situations. So what does that mean? That means that that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go on to become mathematics, science.
Well, they've got analytical
careers.
skills,
but there seems to be a prevalence of a higher ability in mathematics as opposed to English, for example. I mean, that's just the entry profile of the children that enter our school and our community. I tend to find that. But that's I'm not sure about the statistics amongst the girls, though.
Okay.
But
coming back to the point around options.
Yeah.
So if for example, if you have a degree in fine art, if you have a degree in war studies, if you have a degree in history, if you have a degree in women's studies, social work, a lot of people can find very good careers.
They can, yeah.
They can achieve very good pay profiles.
Yeah.
And through that, they can have a rewarding and enriching career.
They can, yeah.
But I think, is that a stereotype on my part? Do I think, am I right or am I valid in this? But why is it that a lot of Asians and a lot of Muslim students don't think of those options? They'd much rather go for the safe sciences or go for the law courses, go for the accountancy, go for economics to a limited extent. The elephant in the room is computing, isn't it? The world has absolutely gone wild with computing, and it's all about artificial intelligence and the involvement of the IT sector and all the rest. We are finding ethnic minority students going into that, but not nearly as much as they could. What's going on there? Do you think there is a push from home to do that? Is there an understanding from home to do that?
Yeah, there could be various reasons for that. I mean, some of the science-based careers like pharmacy, dentistry, medicine, although difficult to get into, they're almost guaranteed careers. You can't say that about some of the other subjects. Computing, yes, when it first came. These days, I don't know, it's a bit more volatile with computing. So, I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes parents advise the youngsters based on their experiences and what they see around them. Um, these are careers you see, don't you? I mean, as a parent, you go to the doctors, you go to the pharmacy shop, you see people there, so you say, "Yeah, that's a good job," and you sort of advise them accordingly.
Okay.
You don't, maybe you don't see computer scientists as often, and journalists. I mean, I think there's civil servants, for example. I mean, there's lot of careers, engineering, a lot of engineering jobs, not so much in this country, more so abroad, in some of the Middle Eastern countries. So maybe their parents don't see these careers, but obviously if they've travelled, they will see them.
So this exposure, this aspect you talk about seeing these careers, how does one develop this exposure? How do we get our communities to think more broadly about the employment sector and the careers and the development of their children?
I think parents have got to do a more. It's one of the things I have observed is how society has changed over the last, since we were youngsters. We used to interact a little bit more. There was a bit more of a civic society. You used to go out. Now it's people in their own homes, and even in their own homes, they don't talk as much. But we do have the world of internet. That is there. So basically, what I'm saying is, parents have got to take an active interest in guiding their children, in maybe learning themselves about sort of the different careers out there. I mean, the accessibility of information is so much easier now. Through internet, whereas we used to go, I remember we used to go to the library every week. We used to go to this place near the markets. It was a career center or something. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Nowadays, everything is online.
It's all connections online, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So I think there needs to be that. We don't really have, one of the lacks, I think, in our community is sort of a career service. They have it in schools. We don't really have a kind of career service. I know organisations, and I have been involved in organisations in Wolverhampton. They've sort of done a careers fair here and there, but it is a lack actually. A proper, dedicated careers advisory service for our children, and that could link up with colleges, further education, link up with professionals, and we've got professionals. We have Muslim professionals, we have community-based professionals in a wide variety of careers, and it's quite easy to set up. It just needs somebody who's got the time to do that.
It's
a need.
It's a generic problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the sense that I think even now, if you were to go to most adults, people in their 30s and 40s, and say, "Well, what do you want to do when you grow up?" they wouldn't know. Even now, they'd say, "I don't know where my career is going. I don't know where my job is taking me." And so there really is a need. I think you're right. There is a need for this approach where the community can support itself by looking at the people from within. And I think we're blessed in that there's a lot of people within the community who are doing a vast array of different careers. We've got the mentors there, but we're not using them, are we?
Yeah.
We're not using them.
But there's another thing as well, and that is one thing which I want to come back to, and that is the education, the study. You see, I think there are some issues in terms of our youngsters being able to study and focus on their study and give time to their study and develop skills for their studies, because that doesn't happen, it limits the opportunities afterwards. Yeah. So I think there are some issues there, which despite the availability of information, and the internet is packed with exam websites, revision websites, it's packed with them. You just go to Google and you can find loads. You can download papers, mark schemes, revision materials, loads of it. Yet, our youngsters have issues in trying to get down to plan their study. They like to put it off. Maybe I think one of the problems is the distractions that are out there. The distractions have multiplied. We didn't have, mobile phones started, I think, in the 90s. And then you have the advancement of all kind of games now and everything. This presents a challenge.
When we get to the second half of the program after the break, I'm going to specifically want to question you about educational attainment and why are Muslim communities significantly lagging when it comes to attainment. I think, alhamdulillah, we are blessed in that the girls, the females within the community, are actually achieving a lot higher than the boys. And it'd be interesting to see your views on that and why. So we'll do that in the second half. But in this first bit, because we've got about 3 or 4 minutes now until our ad break, what do you feel is the key things, very succinctly, very short, to the point, that a parent can do to motivate their child, male or female, irrespective? What is the key thing they can do? And I would say specifically, because at the primary ages, it's easier to sort of indoctrinate and manipulate, and therefore you can get your child to do certain things. When they get to the age of 13, 14 onwards, they start looking back to you, and I'm thinking of my own children here as well. They start looking back to you and saying, why? You know, how do you get them motivated? What is the key thing you can do to instill the importance of education in a child?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is the relationships in the home between parents and the children. That relationship, those children don't study where that relationship is almost non-existent. So dad is busy working, works all kind of hours, comes, and that's it, and says, get in your room, get study and all that stuff. There is no relationship. And I think if that relationship develops in terms of parents taking an active interest, praising the children, taking time to reward their children, later on the task becomes easier. Yeah. Then you just become a guide. You've already done the spark at the beginning, because they are doing it for a long time to please you as parents. They want to get the stamp of approval. When they don't get the stamp of approval of praise, they say, well, why am I doing this? They lose a purpose for it. And then, as they grow older, you show them things. You show them how the difference is. You take them out. You meet with successful sort of people, professionals, and talk to them about their careers. And it's all sort of a combined thing. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a combination of things that will influence.
So I think you made a very, very valid point there, and I think there's a lot of credence to what you're saying, without a doubt. The importance of giving your children time. Importance, and I think we're all guilty as parents, because we get busy, don't we? And we let our lives get preoccupied by so many other things. But I think giving them that sense of importance and making them realize how, if they achieve in this, it's not just a question of their career and their money and things like that, but it's actually a sense of satisfaction from an approval from within the family. Yeah. I think without a doubt you hit the nail on the head with that one. How can we encourage this type of behavior amongst our families? What role do you think, as community leaders, as the Masajid, as various organizations, as individuals within neighborhoods, what is it we can do to instill this importance?
I mean, no doubt, in the month of Ramadan, we see masjids packed. So masjids are a platform where the importance of education can be promoted. And sort of discussions can be held around education and how, for example, parents can participate in terms of how they can help their youngsters, at home. I mean, in some cases, it's even providing sort of, a quiet area where your son or daughter could have a desk and a chair
and be able to study.
As simple as that.
We're coming up to our ad break. Inshallah, listeners, we will carry on with the conversation with Brother Ahmed and see us on the other side of the break.
Are you replacing windows in your home? Here at AK Windows, with over 30 years experience manufacturing and installation, we can provide you with premium and affordable UPVC, aluminium windows and doors, roof lanterns, composite and bifolding doors. We offer a free quotation on all work with our selected range of windows in grey, white and much more. We can also repair window and door locks with glass repairs too. We also supply to the trade. Call today for a free quote on 01902 421 500. AK Windows. Are you looking for a new challenge? A chance to be your own boss? Becoming a driving instructor is a lot easier than you think. Bespoke training is provided and franchise opportunities with guaranteed results. Or are you looking to get a full driving license? Well, look no further. For a complete package from translated theory classes to driving ability, securing your freedom to the future. Contact us today by calling Ashes Driving School on 07402 362 717. Wolverhampton and surrounding areas. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Learn by taking the right turn.
Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment. Suppliers of leading brands, Samsung, Sony, and Panasonic. We supply and fit all car audio systems, top brands, Kenwood, Bose, and we're an authorized supplier of Vibe product. Visit our store online at mubibass.co.uk and order today for next day delivery. Mubi Bass Electronics are proud sponsors of Wolverhampton Wanderers FC. Call us today for a free quote on 01902 754 546 and quote Ramadan 20 for 10% off. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mubi Bass Electronics, specialist in car audio and home entertainment.
Little Dessert Shop, UK's leading dessert franchise, continues to deliver happiness in Wolverhampton. Order from Just Eat, Uber Eats and Deliveroo. Visit us at littledessertshop.co.uk and contact your nearest branch. From all at Little Dessert Shop, we wish you a blessed Ramadan and a happy Eid.
Ready for a new career? Ready to be an engineer? Get ready, get set, get training. Become a qualified domestic gas or electrical engineer with the potential to earn up to 45k by enrolling onto one of our bespoke, accredited, industry-recognised training courses at our purpose-built training centre in Wolverhampton. For more information, visit our website gettraining.com or contact us on 01902 583 941. It's mega deal time right now at Salsa Grill. Any size pizza, a buy one, get one free, with free medium fries. Any curries with 4 roti, just $6.99. Any single burger meal, just $3.50. Masala fish with fries or a naan, only $4.50. It's all here and much more at Salsa. The death of a loved one is a very emotional and challenging time for the family members of the deceased. Al Mu'min Funeral Services have been supporting families across the UK since 2005. Their professional, experienced and quality service ensures the whole process from release from hospital to burial is taken care of respectfully and efficiently. They also specialise in worldwide repatriations, assisting to take loved ones to Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Iraq or anywhere worldwide. almu'minfunerals.co.uk, your trusted funeral service.
Do you have a family member that's passed away and you would like someone to assist you in legal advice? Kenneth Jones Solicitors has been providing legal services for businesses and individuals since 1986. We specialise in probate, Islamic wills and family law. We also offer services in conveyancing, immigration and personal injury. Contact us today on 01902 745 773 or visit us on our website at kenneth-jones.co.uk.
Betsy's Burgers taste flippin' awesome. Betsy's world-famous burgers are coming soon to Wolverhampton and Wednesfield. Prepare for sizzling hot smash burgers, bubbling mac and cheese, and sensational sides. Betsy's is home to undefeated, crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside fries. Dunk your Betsy's burger in a lava-hot melted cheese and get a load of our loaded fries and mouth-watering cheese-filled onion rings. The king is dead. Long live the queen. Betsy's Burgers, coming flippin' soon. Eurofit Auto Centres, the West Midlands' leading independent auto centre, celebrating 18 years of service. All services, MOT and repairs, with a free collection and drop-off service within Wolverhampton. Book online today at eurofitautocentres.co.uk or call us on 01902 40 40 45 and we'll direct you to your nearest branch. The experts making vehicle repairs simple. Are you in receipt of benefits and looking for cavity wall or underfloor insulation?
Did you know, with Northern Gas Heating, you could get a free boiler with the installation measure of your choice? Call 0800 083 1000 or go to northerngasheating.com to see if you're eligible. It's a quick and easy.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inna alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum. You're listening to Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. My name is Yusuf Shafi in conversation with, and today we've got a special show all about education matters. 87.8 FM Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton. In the audience in my studio today I've got Brother Ahmed Hussain, who's the head teacher at a secondary school in Birmingham. Now, Brother Ahmed, we were talking before the break about issues of motivation and how can we get our young children motivated, enthused, encourage them to ensure that they take an interest in their studies and go on and do well. You started talking about, I think you were mentioning just before the ad break, about providing space and a location, a place in the house where they can do quiet study. Above and beyond that, what else are the key motivating factors from a parent's point of view? What are the key things they can do? You also very pertinently mentioned the issue around time, giving support and time to your child so that they can understand the importance of education. What are the other key things that a parent can do in order to really motivate and push their children and ensure that they get the top jobs and the top opportunities that are available to them?
Yes, so I mean, I find also as a parent that my children are different. So what I need to do to motivate my daughter is different from what I need to do to motivate and support my son. You know, so it could be that I have an advantage being a teacher, that I can help in some subjects, so that is there. But I educate myself about other subjects and try to get as much information as possible so that I can support my son. And my father would have accessed people who could help. So in terms of support and motivation, I would say that resources, it could be that one of the blockages is a resource problem. They can't access the right resource.
So when you say resources, you mean books?
Yeah, textbooks, revision guides.
Revision guides.
You know, suitable revision guides. And the other thing, I mean, it's as simple as the fact that because these guys don't have, you know, they're young, they don't have money, etc. They might need something to print and write on. You know, so I think having that dialogue is important. I mean, practice papers are important. They need to be printed, or sometimes you can get workbooks, you know, for children that they could write on. Revision guides have workbooks with them.
But how do you combat the Xbox? How do you combat the PlayStation, the YouTube channel? How do you go against, you know, the Netflix that's going on and the Sky 100 or 1,000 Sky channels we've got? The child's time is being competed for by all of these disparate media. And then you throw a textbook at them and a workbook at them and say, get reading and writing your answers out on the workbook. It's just that much more encouraging for them, or that much more fun for them to go onto Netflix and watch a film. How do you motivate them away from all those different distractions that they've got?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that in my house.
But the community does. So I'm not asking you as parent, I'm asking you as a teacher.
I am going to, and I don't think it's because I'm a teacher. I think it's because of relationship. I think relationship is important. The moment, I mean, these things are not banned in my house, Netflix and so on, but you have a time for study, and some of those things can be used as rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Some can be used as rewards. So, okay, you've achieved this, very good. Now you can have time to use the iPad for an hour or whatever. But yeah, I do feel that sort of uncensored use and unlimited use is not right in my view. I think there needs to be controls. Otherwise they will naturally overexpose themselves with these things and then get addicted to them.
I was speaking to somebody about this some months or years back now, and he said to me, often one of the best things you can do is take your child and go to downtown Calcutta or Gambia or some village in the other part of the world, Timbuktu, wherever you wish to.
I think that's important.
And throw them there and leave them there for 2 weeks and say, well, obviously supervised, not on their own. But make them really see the poverty. Make them really understand what happens if you don't have an education.
Appreciate the value of the things of education, number one. When they see in some of those countries, they have classrooms outside. They don't have a building. They don't have things to write. They will have a chalk. They will have a blackboard, if that. So I think it's important that they see that.
And take them off on international travel.
Yeah.
So take don't just we can have holidays locally, and that's fine as well. Go to the local beach and whatever. But actually take them abroad, maybe Islamic countries, maybe take them to the Middle East, maybe take them to Turkey, maybe take them to India, Pakistan, wherever. In a sense, create a well-rounded view of the world for them and an understanding of what goes on. And because we live in cocoons, don't we? We live in very well-protected environments here in the UK. And we wake up in the morning and our breakfast is provided and lunch is provided and evening meals, and we've got all of these resources as in, entertainment in the house, and alhamdulillah, we're blessed with nice warm houses, and in most cases nice houses as well, and cars and all the rest. And I think the reality of life doesn't really hit them until maybe when then they hit their mid-20s and they think, oh dear, I haven't got an education, I haven't got a career, I want to actually develop something and I can't. And then they've got brick walls facing them. So I suppose it's being well grounded, isn't it? And having that sort of perspective of life and understanding life.
I think, Yusuf, there's something else, if you don't mind me saying.
Please.
As well. I mean, it's the question as to what is it all for? Why are we studying? And this, I think, is very limited to say that it's just about seeking a job, right? And getting money and having a career. We have in our school, we have a very fundamental value, which is service. And the example that you just given should also open minds of our children that we have a responsibility of service to our community and to the world community. And that service should grow up. And service, charity is part of service. We're doing it in this month of Ramadan. When people want to become a doctor, they might be looking at salary, but they're also looking at helping people save lives, and curing them from illnesses. And it's the same thing we do as teachers. We want to make a difference to their life chances, So that concept needs to be inculcated very early on. Otherwise, children will become materialistic and will just start thinking of themselves. And when they play games, it is a materialistic concept. It's just me. There's responsibilities in the home. There's other people to think of, So I think that's a very important concept to be inculcated very early on.
So the idea of community service, or the idea of actually doing good for your fellow man.
Yeah.
The importance of...
And education helps you to do that.
To understand that, of course it does. I want to take our conversation a little different now. We are aware of our local community, and we're aware of some of the barriers and the restrictions and why certain individuals are achieving and others not. But in a national sense, one of the things we're aware of is that Muslim boys in particular do not attain as well in comparison to Muslim girls. And similarly, Muslim boys, certainly from a Pakistani and Bengali background, do not attain near as enough as well as Indian boys and white British and Chinese boys. Why do you think there are these differences? What could be the core behind the reason of some of these issues?
Yeah, you've got to be careful, first of all, not to stereotype, right, that all girls will achieve and boys will not achieve. This is not true. And in the same way, in terms of ethnicities, that some will achieve and some will not achieve, or some. I mean, you're absolutely right. You look at the statistics, and they are showing that, for example, we were having a discussion earlier that Indian community, Chinese community is doing quite well. But there's another statistic in terms of the lowest achieving community in this country is actually white British in working class communities.
Of course, yeah.
So in other words, what it's saying is that it is linked to their opportunities and their maybe disadvantaged situations, right? So we find that certain areas, physical areas where people reside in, wards like we have here, those wards maybe are not as good in terms of environment, in terms of the education level, the schools in those communities, the economic outlook in those communities, the crime level is high, there are a number of, and this is what leads to deprivation. So those communities will underachieve if they are in wards where the deprivation is high. Yeah. And that's what has more of a factor. But it just so happens that you will find that in some deprived wards, you have an accumulation of particular ethnic minorities, right? So it's a double whammy in a way, in terms of what is hindering them is the fact that they don't have the opportunities around them, and very few will succeed as a result.
So what we're saying is there's a lack of role models.
Yeah,
and there's a lack of aspiration.
But I'll tell you what we do find is that when people of that community become successful and they serve in the schools in those wards and they serve in the councils in those wards, you find it starts to change. And they serve in the governing bodies in those wards. You find the situation starts to change. So I think what we need is sort of active participation of the community to help the community in their ward. And I think that's how we might be able to come out of this, cycle of deprivation and underachievement in which is facing some communities.
It's a dire problem. It's at a national level. And I think for a number of years now, I know regional government and local government have been active in trying to find ways of remedying the problem. And, you were talking to me in the break about intervention and how schools put in intervention, after schools clubs, lunchtime clubs, opportunities for the children to work online and give them online resources so that they can benefit from additional tuition, additional support and all the rest. But it's a hard nut to crack. And I think increasingly so what we've seen is that people think leave the area and go to better schools. But I think one of the things we find, or we know as both educationalists, we know that the education system itself is broken. You have a situation where you have 30 children in a class with one teacher, a wide range of ability levels. Teachers often aren't well equipped to differentiate. When I mean differentiate, I mean meeting individual needs of students. So they will teach to the middle ground, as it were. A lot of the high achievers will get neglected because they're not being pushed. A lot of the low achievers will be neglected because they're not being provided ample support. How can a parent, given that these problems prevail, how can a parent now themselves get involved with their children and intervene within the house or within the community? What are the different issues or the different things that can be brought about in order to remedy some of these problems? What is it we can do?
I think the homeschool link is important. So that one parents' evening, for example, make sure you attend it, and have that dialogue with your child's teachers and find out, because it could make a big difference. Nowadays, there's a lot of education which is online. I give the example of my youngster who's in primary school. I had a 10-minute conversation on the phone with his teacher, and she told me about a reading program that's online. She told me about a math program that's online. She told me about something else which is online, and then the homework that the school gives, printed homework, which is to be done over the weekend. All of these things a parent can monitor at home and speak to the child, and say, oh, I heard about this maths thing that you're doing. How much of this have you done? Shall we have a look? So that there are opportunities, but that it's that link with the school and finding out. And I always ask the question to the school teacher, what can I do at home? Where I find out, what is my child good at? What does he need to improve? How can I help?
Mm-hmm.
What else can I do? And if I can't do anything, can you give me some work or point me in the right direction? And the beauty with online things is that they have accompanied explanations on there. So many of them will have sort of online videos explaining a particular concept, how to solve a mathematical problem, and then you've got the questions associated with it. And then the teachers tell you that we can monitor this and we can track when your child is online, and we can tell you how many hours of homework that they do, and we can give you that feedback. And then the teacher gives a parent that feedback, simply to say, well, your child has been doing, 5 hours last week, and you say, well done to your son. And you get the feedback from the teacher in terms of achievement. So I think there is definitely a role, even if the parent is uneducated, or doesn't have that level of education, there is definitely a role. But I think it starts with that connection with the school. And then finding out what else. You're absolutely right in terms of the school day. You've got large classrooms. But find out, many schools now, the government is giving funding to all maintained schools for booster classes, revision classes, after school clubs, holiday interventions. There's something called catch up premiums. They recognize that the pandemic put a lot of people behind, so there's a lot of money being pumped into that. There's the last government's agenda, actually, manifesto, that no child should suffer because of disadvantage. Yeah, so a lot of schools will be putting these classes on. Do we know when the classes are on? Are our children attending those classes? Do I know as a parent which classes, which subjects my child is more in need of? And am I making sure that they go there and go there on time? And then whatever else a person can do on top of that.
So to summarize, what you're saying is you cannot sit back and say, I dropped my child off at 9 o'clock and I picked them up at 3:30, and everything that happens in between is somebody else's issue.
Yeah.
And from 3:30 onwards up until whenever they go to sleep, it's just about me making sure that they're happy and fed and watching TV, and there you go. That's not enough. What you're saying is you have to intervene, you have to be proactive, you have to knock on doors.
And you have to know, as a parent, when are the key periods of assessment, for example, early on, what's going to make a difference. So, for example, we were talking earlier about some parents who may want their children to study dentistry or medicine. Well, that's not going to happen really until they have got, for example, separate sciences. Those decisions are made in year 9. There might be an exam in year 9, you might have missed the boat. So I think finding out when are the key assessment points, how these assessments make how are decisions made from those assessments, and how I can support my child during those periods.
Do you think as a community generally we are not confident enough to go to teachers, bang on the door and say, with respect and with politeness, of course, but not confident enough to say to them, I need you to support me, to support my child, and I need it now?
I think that may have been the case in the past, but nowadays we're now sort of second, third generation parents speaking English, and I see a lot of confidence. In fact, it's going the other way in terms of, give the schools a chance to deal with the problem, before you want to put a complaint in. But I think that
well, complaining is fine, and that sometimes does achieve what you want to. But I don't actually think it's so much about complaining. I just think it's about having, as you said, having that connection, having that relationship with the teacher, but not feeling as though it has to just happen on parents' evening. It should be happening more regularly, maybe once a month. And the teacher may well get annoyed with you, and the head teacher may well get annoyed with you. Well, so be it. At the end of the day, from your point of view, it's what they get paid for. And from your point of view, it's you need to have the best possible service from that teacher. So pestering them, and if that's not an appropriate word, whatever is, going through the process of actually worrying about your child and pushing that worry onto the teacher is a useful endeavor. It's worth doing. And I think sometimes maybe our community don't realize that. They think it's just that yearly report we get, it's just that one parent evening we have, and these people then after that should be left to it. We're running out of time towards the end of the program. What is your view on private tuition? Supplementing the education that's provided by the state with additional sessions at home.
I mean, it's more on the demand now, and in
but
fact,
is it required? Is it needy?
The government feels it's required.
Work?
That's why they've got the national tuition program to support it. They recognise the fact that the pandemic, in particular, has put a lot of people behind because they haven't been in school. And they got these tuition now being made available at much reduced prices. I think that there are you have to choose the companies carefully. Base it on recommendation, base it on outcomes, what you have seen, success track record. And you may want to choose particular subjects, like for example, I've always tapped into English because I find that it's a subject I can't help as much in. So I have sought support from tutors as far as English is concerned. There might be a particular subject that is making a big difference to that child's career. So I think it needs to be targeted.
Okay,
tuition.
But you think it's not something you would outright discount? It's something that parents should consider, parents should look into and see, especially if their children are being not attaining at the level where they should be. It's certainly worth putting in. Great, we're coming up to the last couple of minutes of the hour, and so really what I'm going to ask Brother Ahmed, our local head teacher, who's very kindly come on Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton to share his views and ideas of education matters, I'd like you please to give a minute or so of some parting comments and some general advice and key messages, and then inshallah I will close the program thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say firstly to the youngsters that your education is very important. It is what is going to make a difference to the rest of your life. And so therefore, time spent in your studies is really important. That don't put things off. If you come to a problem, you don't run from the problem. You find, get access to information that will help you solve the problems so that you can succeed. To the parents, I will say that give our children a sense of success. Praise them. Even if it's a small problem that they got, praise them and you will see the response. And that will motivate them. What motivates boys in particular, we were talking about boys and girls, what motivates boys in particular is a sense of achievement, a sense of success. And so give them that opportunity for success, celebrate the success with them, and you will see them fly. But, I think what I'd say is give education important to your children, build the relationship, take an interest, ask them, how was school today? How was your studies? Is there anywhere I can help? Do you need something? I think that's what I'd say as closing words. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ahmed Hussain. MashaAllah, I'm sure the community out there have learned a great deal from your very much enlightened words. Alhamdulillah, you've come from a vast and diverse experience from your career and from your work as a head teacher. May Allah bless you, and thank you for your coming into Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. It's certainly been very, very informative. Allah bless all of the audience as well. Jazakumullah khair. Inshallah, we'll carry on with more programs on Radio Ramadan Wolverhampton. Assalamu alaikum.